Famous Guitars, episode 11, and you might want to strap in for this one too, because this has got a lot of history to it. This guitar right here. And this was actually a suggestion that I do this guitar, and there's a lot of stuff behind this, so I'm going to put the link to the article I'm reading from right down here, and maybe even deviate from that a little bit with some of my own experiences of this particular guitar. Now, this is obviously Gene Simmons' Axe bass. Built in 1979, the Axe bass was entered into Gene's repertoire at the beginning of his lifelong associated with that particular instrument. The basic design of the bass has changed little through the years, but is made by several luthiers and several different companies. And I'll mention some of those companies and luthiers as we go along. But there is a first iteration of this particular Axe bass, and this one was actually made... Well, let me back up a little bit. The Valdez Axe, whether this is his first axe or not, it's not real clear. According to Steve Carr, his was the first version of the axe that was made for Gene, and that was back in 1978. And he even used it for a few shows that year, but there's no photographic evidence to that effect. According to Gene, the original one was made by Valdez in Los Angeles, California. He says he still has it around somewhere in his collection, and we all know that he has a huge Kiss collection in his mansion. Its first appearance is in a photo shoot that was set up the day that Kiss returned from a dress rehearsal in June of 1979. And the pictures found their way later to the tour book and shows the bass with a black blade and black knobs. The headstock features Gene's autograph on it and a pointy-shaped headstock. Now, the next iteration of that bass was the Carr Axe, and this is a custom prototype axe bass that was built by Steve Carr in 1978, going back. So when Gene said he wanted a guitar shaped like an executioner's axe, he made several of these until he had a design that was pretty much what he uses today. There was also an axe bass that was made by Kramer. Now, Kramer's axe bass, as I recall, and this isn't in the article that I can find, also had an aluminum neck, which was quite fascinating. So there was the Kramer version, and then after that, Jackson made an axe. So the shift to Jackson comes just before the European leg of the Lick It Up Tour in 1983. The Jackson Axe continued Gene's new infatuation with the EMG active pickups, and the one is located actually closer to the neck than the one that was on the Kramer. The headstock was a standard Jackson hockey stick shape with all four tuners on one side. Now, in 1987, Gene turns up with what looks like a slightly altered version of the Jackson, with a higher gloss mirror-like finish on the body and headstock, and revels on the body near the pickup, and true to form, a hole where the tone knob should be. Apart from those changes, it appears identical to the Jackson right down to the black tuning pegs, but during the convention tour of 1995, this bass was part of the museum labeled as a prototype Gene Simmons Axe. And what's interesting, at this point, Gene was actually talking about going into making the basses himself. But before that actually happened, and he does make the basses. You can buy one, I think, Kiss Online or GeneSimmons.com. But Cort also made one, and I didn't see this in the article either. Maybe it's there, I just kind of skimmed through it. But Cort had a really successful run of the Gene Simmons Axe bass, and also his Punisher bass, which is still available today, not with secondhand, obviously. You'd have to get them, but be careful because there's a lot of counterfeits out there too. So, that thing. Read up more on it. I'm sure I'm probably missing a lot of things, but it is a fascinating bass, and no, to my knowledge, the blade wasn't actually sharpened. He'd probably cut himself a whole lot if he did that, kind of like Paul cut himself on his fractured mirror guitar. Anyway, that's episode 11, Famous Guitars, Gene Simmons Axe bass. Please, please, please like, share, and follow for more famous guitars.